Welcome to the True Detectives podcast. Are you ready for another crazy story?
Always.
Well, this week we're diving into an investigation you sent our way. It's a truly bizarre series of events all happening among, the wealthy elite.
Oh, this sounds good already.
It's not your typical crime. This one involves whispers of the dead and a detective who's just trying to figure out, well, what's real and what's an elaborate deception. You wanted to understand how someone could pull off something so audacious and what that might tell us about, human nature.
Yeah, what does it say about all of us? Right.
Right. So let's get right into this investigation.
Sounds good.
So what strikes you immediately about the materials we have?
Well, the first thing that pops out to me is the almost theatrical element of all of this.
Yeah.
It's not just a simple theft or a violent crime. It seems like this carefully constructed, scenario designed to prey on very specific vulnerabilities.
Exactly. It's like the scene is set in these, incredibly opulent homes.
Yeah.
And they're filled with individuals who are grappling with recent loss.
Oh.
And then into this environment of grief steps our central figure, Detective Elias Grant. And from the get-go, what's so fascinating is his skepticism. He doesn't buy the supernatural explanation for these so-called seance deaths for even a second.
He sounds like a smart guy.
He is. And so we learn about, there are 3 deaths within a single year, all sharing these unsettling similarities.
Yeah.
Wealthy victims, all recently bereaved, and all deeply involved in trying to, make contact with their deceased loved ones.
Oh, wow.
It really points to a very specific kind of vulnerability being targeted.
That recurring pattern is so critical, isn't it? I mean, a single death, okay, maybe you could write it off as some tragic accident, a pre-existing health condition maybe, made worse by, all the emotional distress, but 3 deaths in a row, all tied to this desire to talk to those who've passed on. That would definitely, I think, set off alarm bells for any good investigator like Detective Grant. It goes way beyond coincidence, right? Into something a lot more suspicious.
And it's in the atmosphere of the seance room itself where the investigation starts to take shape.
Okay.
Can you just imagine the scene?
Yeah.
The smell of incense, right? The hushed voices, like they're in some sacred space.
Yeah.
And you have the medium just, orchestrating this entire performance.
It's almost like a play.
It is. And it's not just the eerie, ambiance that catches Grant's attention. He notices this subtle, almost hidden interest from the medium when the widow mentions her late husband's will. It's such a small detail.
Mm-hmm.
But for a detective who's looking for a motive, something real, not ghostly, it's a crack in the illusion, This is when Grant's initial dismissal of everything starts to fade.
Yeah.
He doesn't see these deaths as just accidents anymore. He sees a link. He sees a pattern. Mm-hmm. And maybe something a lot more sinister.
It's fascinating how that shift happens, right? From something that seems supernatural to something like finances. Good investigative work often hinges on finding those tangible elements.
Right.
And you're right, the vulnerability of these people, it becomes a way for someone to exploit them. Mm-hmm. And that mention of the will, that's concrete. That's a real world reason for someone to be manipulating things.
Exactly. And so the investigation follows the money.
Mm-hmm.
And what they find is, it's pretty disturbing. Bank accounts are being drained, completely emptied after these supposed messages from the afterlife, urging donations or big investments.
Yeah, wow.
It's a classic con, but with this really dark twist. They're manipulating grief.
Yeah.
And then, just like that, the medium disappears. Gone, leaving behind families who are, they're not just heartbroken, they're financially ruined. It's a cruel double blow. You prey on their loss, and then you steal what little they have left.
The audacity is it's breathtaking. To deceive these people when they're at their lowest point and then to defraud them, I mean, it takes real callousness. And the fact that she vanishes so easily, it tells you this wasn't some spur-of-the-moment thing. This was planned, sophisticated.
Which brings us to Detective Grant's big decision. He's going undercover. He realizes the only way to understand this scheme is to become a potential target himself.
He puts himself right in the lion's den.
He does. He goes to another seance.
Yeah.
And while the medium has changed her look, her methods are the same. She focuses right in on his fake grief.
Oh, interesting.
Like a predator sensing, weakness. It shows you how she works. She's good at reading people, finding those raw nerves of loss and vulnerability.
Going undercover like that takes dedication. It's risky, because getting emotionally involved could ruin the whole investigation.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's the only way to get inside a closed-off world like this. And the fact that she takes the bait so easily, even though he's a stranger, it just proves what we already suspected.
Right.
She targets the bereaved. And the fact that she changed her appearance, that's telling too. She's trying to avoid detection. She knows what she's doing is wrong.
And by playing along, feeding her these made-up details about his, well, his fictional lost love, Grant starts to see how the con works. It's not just one person, it's a network.
A whole team.
Yeah. Paid actors pretend to be spirits,
Yeah.
background checks to find wealthy, vulnerable targets. And this chilling manipulation of real griefs. That's a whole production, all designed to get money from people who are desperate for connection, for closure.
It's disturbing how organized they are. It must have taken time, resources, planning. The background checks, that really highlights how predatory this whole thing is. They weren't just hoping to catch anyone. They were picking their victims carefully, based on their money and their fragility. It's exploiting basic human emotions for profit. It's awful.
And it all leads to this grand mansion. It's the perfect setting for their big deception.
Wow.
The medium, she's feeling confident now, you
Right.
know, after she snared Grant. And she promises a direct manifestation, like the ultimate proof of the afterlife.
That's their end game, isn't it?
It is. They set the scene perfectly.
Yeah.
Lighting effects, disembodied voices, the widow, another victim, totally captivated by the spectacle. It's like a well-rehearsed play. It overwhelms your senses, makes you forget to think critically.
And that promise of a direct manifestation, that's the climax. It's where they expect the victims to surrender to the illusion completely. And the setting, the mansion, it adds to the whole thing. It makes the impossible seem possible. They're really good at manipulating the atmosphere and people's expectations.
And then it all comes crashing down. Detective Grant bursts in, his searchlight cutting through the darkness. The illusion is shattered. The actors, they're exposed, trying to hide. The props, you see, they're cheap, fake. And the widow, she sees it all. And her grief turns to anger. It's a powerful moment of realization.
To have that fantasy you're clinging to just ripped away, that must be so jarring. And the anger makes sense. They were tricked, manipulated. It's a natural response to being deceived like that. The spell is broken. Their hope was just, well, it was exploited.
But the confrontation with the medium, it's not what you'd expect. She doesn't beg for mercy or make excuses. She's defiant.
Really?
And her justification, it's chilling. She says, they want it too much. They deserve to lose it all.
Wow.
It's like she thinks she's superior to them.
That statement it's deeply unsettling. No empathy at all. She's basically saying it's the victim's fault for being vulnerable. Shifting the blame, It's a classic way to manipulate.
You
dehumanize your target so you don't feel guilty.
It makes you face this dark truth about the situation. The victims, they weren't just naive. They were willing participants, desperate for comfort, clinging to these lies because the truth, accepting that death is final, it was just too painful. There's something in what the medium said, this twisted logic, that if they could be tricked so completely, then maybe, just maybe, their loved ones weren't truly gone.
It's heartbreaking, really, and it shows how powerful the need for connection is, how far we'll go to maintain it, even if it means believing lies. What she was probably doing is something called cold reading, making vague statements that resonate with most people who are grieving. Then she'd watch their reactions, and adjust what she said to make it seem personal, real, like she actually knew something.
And the aftermath of the investigation is almost as unsettling as the crimes. The legal repercussions are minimal. Fines, a slap on the wrist for the damage she caused. But then, get this, the medium's legend grows. People start to believe she really had powers. That Detective Grant, that he interrupted something supernatural, it's strange, isn't it? They romanticize a con artist who preyed on the vulnerable.
It's frustrating how often fraud cases, especially those involving this kind of emotional manipulation, end with such weak punishments. And the fact that her legend grows. It shows you how much we want to believe in the supernatural and something beyond our world. It's like exposing the con doesn't erase the need it fulfilled for some people, even if it was all fake. It speaks to our desire for easy answers, especially when we're dealing with loss and uncertainty.
Detective Grant, he leaves the mansion with this feeling of unease. Did he stop a predator, or did he accidentally make her a martyr? Someone these grieving people now see as, I don't know, as mystical, intriguing. He's left facing this unending battle against con artists, a fight fueled by human desperation. And the image you sent us, the circling crows, that feeling of being watched, it suggests this might not be over, that the media, maybe she's still out there, finding new ways to exploit people's vulnerability.
That feeling of unease, it makes sense. He shut down this one operation, but the vulnerability that allowed it to happen, that's still there.
It is.
And that's the thing about these kinds of cons. They prey on emotions that are always there, always powerful. So even though the scheme's exposed, others will pop up, maybe in different forms, but exploiting the same basic desires. And that image of being watched, that really drives that point home, doesn't it? There's still a threat. Maybe it's evolving, but it's still there.
So what do you think? What does this whole investigation into the seance deaths tell you?
I don't know. It's a lot to think about.
It shows you the power of hope, especially when you're in despair, and how grief can make us so vulnerable. It makes you question, where's the line between an illusion that comforts you and a lie that hurts you? And how easy it is to be swayed when someone's targeting your deepest desires.
I guess it makes you wonder about like the cost of comfort.
Yeah,
If it can be bought and sold, how do we protect ourselves from the people selling it, whether it's real or not?
exactly. This story leaves us with a really big question. In a world where even comfort can be commodified, how do we protect ourselves and others from the people who prey on our deepest needs? Think about that basic human need to connect with those who've passed on, and the line that people walk when they offer that connection, whether it's real or just a story. Rate and follow the True Detectives podcast for more of these true crime and true detective stories.
I'm definitely going to be thinking about this one for a while.
Me too.